to panel 2 discussion. The first discussion that we had for our entire conversation was our boots on the ground youth leaders who were looking to assist in our diversity, equity, and inclusion goals here in the community. This panel that we have here on panel number 2 is more of our corporate world, the individuals who are, keeping us educated and keeping us in tune with things that are going on in our hospitals, our schools, different places like that. Yeah. So I want to get started by just letting you guys know again that United Community Change is here to push diversity, equity, and inclusion issues, make sure that it stays on top of everyone's mind and doesn't get lost in the wayside. We want to bring everyone together, bring all of the leaders together, and create a bond with one another that's going to assist both those who have come before, individuals like myself, and then also those who are going to come after, and also our youth, especially our youth. If you guys would like to donate to what United Community Change is doing, please go to UCC Empowers /donate. There's a lot of different tools that you can use in order to make that donation.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Thank you.
Make a donation to United Community Change, and their mission is to promote community, diversity, equity, and inclusion, encourage self-sufficiency and self-esteem in the African American, Black people of color, socially disadvantaged communities, promote strengthening the community by providing access to healthier food, talent diversity, safe housing, and advancing racial equity.
And I want to say we have some amazing individuals here on our panel right now, and I'm going to give them some time to introduce themselves. And I'm going to go ahead and start with Ms. Christine.
I'm Christine Peoples. I am the coordinator, History and Engagement Coordinator for Timmons Hall for Springfield Greene County Park Board. And that's who I am.
Thank you.
I'm Natasha Lancaster. I am the program director at a local nonprofit serving children and families in crisis. Been in the community for a while now, and doing some things on a volunteer and on a personal level as well.
I'm Justin Pivens. I'm with Multicultural Business Association, and I'll be helping to moderate this panel.
Thank you. I'm Mia Jones, founder of United Community Change, and we're here to just bring everyone together and have these deep conversations that's going to put the community on knowledgeable paths that will bring us together and hopefully have great outcomes.
My name is Melisha Bailey. I'm a small business owner here in Springfield, Missouri. The name of my business is called Love for Life Wellness. I am a nutritional holistic health coach, and one of the reasons why I became a health coach is because I want to change the trajectory of health and wellness in our Black community. And so I was sick for a long time with my own health issues, and then I looked around and I saw so many Black folks that are dying, that are sick, and we don't have to be sick. We can turn our health around. It's not that hard, and so I want to be a catalyst to help that happen. So my passion is to turn around the health, especially people that are dealing with diabetes and weight management and stress, and so that's what I do. I sit on different boards here in Springfield. I teach classes. I write for the Unite publication. I write a health and wellness column for Unite publication, but it is just my pleasure to sit here today with this distinguished panel.
Melisha is we're putting on the first ever Health and Wellness Conference in Springfield, Black Health and Wellness Conference. It's called SpringMo Black Health and Wellness Initiative, and it's empowerment through engagement. SpringMo Black Health and Wellness Initiative is a citywide collaboration to empower Springfield's Black community to identify healthcare disparities and together advocate and promote optimal wellness through community-based advocacy, interactive workshops, and educational presentations. So what we want to do with this conference is just get a lot of Black folks thinking about their health and knowing where to go, who to talk to. So just getting a lot of those health leaders in the room to kind of make Black folks, Asian folks, Hispanics, Native Americans just more comfortable going to the doctor or talking about things.
So definitely come to the event. Also, you'll be speaking at our Juneteenth event.
Yes.
As well as Natasha, right? Will you know how to speak with you?
Am I?
No. Okay, probably somebody else. But we have another health and wellness speaker that's going to be at our DEI 5K run events. It's also meant to promote, health and wellness within the Black community here in Springfield, Missouri. So I hope you guys come and hear what she has to say about that. And that was Heather Hardinger that is going to be there. That's right. Mr. Pratt.
Hello, my name is Wes Pratt. I'm a native Springfieldian, and I say that not from an exclusionary perspective, but from an inclusive perspective. I actually grew up in this park. I lived on the north side. I live on the north side now. To be here today and to listen to the younger professional panel who was a part of this program earlier is particularly inspiring. Having grown up in Springfield, grown up in this park, and I can tell you the history of this park, but I won't go into it now. I'm also the Chief Diversity Officer at Missouri State University, product of Springfield Public Schools, co-founder of Multicultural Business Association, and currently the president. So I wear several different hats, but the thing I'm most proud of is that I am from Springfield, Missouri, so anything that I have been is probably due to a number of influences. Number one, God. Number two, my mother. And number three, a couple of mentors. A Baptist minister by the name of Reverend William E. Pitch, who was the pastor of Washington Avenue Baptist Church, and a professor at Missouri State who inspired us when we were 15 years old to get engaged in, at that time, it was the Civil Rights Movement. So Silver Springs Park, Timmons Hall hold a special place in my heart simply because without this community, without this park and this church, I don't know if I'd be here today. I don't know if I'd be here today. So it's a powerful testament to the power of community, and I'm so excited to be a part of this panel and to share with you some perspectives of growing up in Springfield as it relates to also being here during these contemporary times.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pratt, for being here and being a wonderful supporter since United Community Change got started. You've been there as mentorship, and you've been there to speak at our events. So I just want to say thank you, and I look forward to seeing what you guys say today. Zach?
I'm supposed to go up there.
you chose to sit there, buddy.
All right, my name is Zach Troutman. I had the opportunity to sit on the first panel. I'm assistant director of a nonprofit here locally that provides services to adults with developmental disability as well as intellectual disability. I'm also the founder of Follow Leader, and there we focus on removing the stigma surrounding mental health.
So with that, I want to get started. First of all, I want to let you guys know that United Community Change has some events this summer. June the 18th, we're going to have, like I stated, our DEI 5K run that's going to enhance and promote health within the Black community. As well, we're going to have our Juneteenth Freedom Walk celebration where we have a lot of things going on for the kids. We're going to have wonderful speakers. There's going to be individuals there to help promote employment access, as well as there's going to be a water balloon fight to keep us cool in the summer. So I hope you guys, share that around. That night, 6 p.m., we're going to have a music festival with 3 bands. 2 of them are local, 1 of them coming from North Carolina. So we look forward to all your support. All the money that's going to be raised with that event goes towards the programs for United Community Change. And I look forward to seeing you guys there and supporting. And you can also give us a donation at uctempowers.com/donate. I want to start with Dr. Pratt. Why is the conversation of diversity, equity, and inclusion important right now? And why do we need to have this conversation?
Basically, because we're all diverse. It's always interesting to me because, I work in this particular field, but and there was some conversation about how do you define diversity. Diversity, to me, is the individual and group social differences that we bring to public service, that we bring to making a profit, that we bring to providing health care. So diversity is a broad concept. And so understanding what diversity is, I think people can understand that we're all diverse. And then you start to break down some of those barriers. So when I talk about individual differences, I'm talking about personality, I'm talking about learning styles and life experience. But when I'm talking about group social differences, I'm talking about race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, country of origin and ability, as well as cultural, political, religious, or other affiliations, such as veteran status or socioeconomic status. And then when we're talking about inclusion, we're talking about the intentional act of ensuring that everybody is included in whatever opportunities are available to anybody. And so equity means, it's not necessarily that we give, and you had that discussion before, it's not necessarily that you give everybody an equal opportunity or an equal chance. It's also when you recognize there are certain barriers, there are certain impediments to somebody even being in an equal position. And so then you make the adjustments to address those issues that may be systemic in nature, they may be individual in nature, but you make the adjustments to ensure that everybody has access. And so I think it's critically important, and I think what you see that's going on nationwide now, the pushback, is because we haven't done a good job of dealing with diversity, particularly when it comes to race and racism and sexism. That is the boo-boo in the nation today. Racism, but sexism and sexism. Sexism was even before racism, if you understand the history of this, certainly of this nation. And so from my perspective, the pushback that I'm seeing, I'm not surprised by it. I've seen it time and time again. So when you start to talk about diversity, you talk about, somebody mentioned critical race theory before. People are putting up barriers, organizations putting up barriers in order to maintain power. And so if you understand that dynamic, you understand we have to be persistent. Just because circumstances change doesn't mean that you still can't be successful. I think the younger panel that spoke before are a testament to that. They've overcome individual challenges, family challenges, but they are still making a contribution. And so when I think about diversity, equity, and inclusion, I'm thinking about the fact what we're talking about is valuing the inclusion of diversity. And if you value the inclusion of diversity, then you value what everybody brings, and everybody needs to be respected and treated with dignity in that process.
Mr. Singh, what do you think, is the important piece of us talking about diversity, equity, inclusion right now?
Well, I think first we need to get our houses in order. Because I think that we're sitting here in Timmons Hall, and this is one of the emphasis back in the day where you learned everything here to value each other, to love each other, to support each other. And the idea for me, I can't even begin to talk about it without going back to the forefathers and how they did things. We were in a situation of segregation, no public accommodations, and the church became the schoolhouse. The church became the place where you met for celebrations. The church became that educational hub. And also it became that place where you learned about the outside world. And so the idea for me is that to have total inclusion and equity like it should be, the black churches need to get back on board. We're missing out because I've heard gaps that were lost with our younger panel. No support, where was the church? And we've learned everything from that. I'm fortunate, there was a piece of a conversation too about if you were, I think, a chef and you had to do that for the livelihood of your family, you had to kind of make some choices. I'm fortunate that what I'm doing is a part of who I am. I'm also an outreach minister, and I've been connected with my community for over 35 years. And so I can look and I see young people that I have helped be a part of. Mia is one of them. I mentored her. And the idea of things coming around full circle, when you start valuing each other and you start showing that equity and inclusion for each other, then things will come your way. You don't have to, and I heard someone say too, what do we need? What can we give? we don't need anything if we go back to the history of our forefathers. In spite of unfavorable change, in spite of unjust laws, they made it happen. From a ditch school to a field school, and all of this was in the laws of no education. So I think that's where I would have to pin diversity and inclusion, true diversity and inclusion. It comes from our forefathers that said, you know what, get your house in order, put the blood on your doorpost, teach your family. Education starts home first. So the idea for me that even we're here in this space is a miracle. So I think that value is the thing. Value humanity. It's not about my skin color. My skin color may get you killed if if you're supporting me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's about valuing humanity and what I have to offer, what I have to bring to the table. So if we build our skills up, that's true diversity and inclusion. So when we're sitting at the table, we're ready.
Right. Right, Melisha, how can we come together? Like, why is it so hard to reach those that fight the same struggles?
I think it's hard because we don't understand, first of all, where we are and where other people are. So I think we have to have those conversations so that we can get an understanding, so that there's no fighting, so that we can come to a consensus, so that we can build and work together to bridge these gaps that are apparent in our society, and to make the adjustments to make things work together, including young people, older people of different backgrounds, different races, and be able to understand and acknowledge everybody's different, everybody has their own opinion, everybody has their own value system, but being able to work together for the benefit of all.
Right. So anybody can answer this question, like how does the diversity amongst the minority leaders benefit us?
Well, I will jump in. I think the benefit is, like everybody here has hit on at some point, we are all coming from different backgrounds, we all have different experiences, whether it is, the household we grew up in, our education, our age and whatnot. And so I think we can share ideas with one another and let each other know, hey, I thank you for sharing your perspective with me. I've learned something from you. And we can learn from each other if we're willing to do that and if we're open to having those conversations. But I think the thing is, we have to be human first. If you see my t-shirt, it says humanize being black. I feel the human aspect gets left out. We're not just black people. I'm human first. I'm black second. I'm a woman third. Mm-hmm. The humanity has to happen. And so within each other, we have to see and recognize each other's humanity versus just like the box that each of us fits in, and then just really see each other as people and then build the relationship off that. So.
Right.
Yeah, I think direction is a big thing, like just using West Pratt for an example, how does the quote say? It's not how fast you go, it's about direction or something to that sense. But just watching where West Pratt goes, where he gets his haircut, who he hangs out with, just having that direction, that's huge. Because you just go try to make friends, you go try to hang out here, you go do this, do that. And it's like, if you know where to go, where to hang out, who to stay away from, having that direction kind of keeps you on a path that keeps you out of trouble. It keeps you, like I said, on the straight and narrow. So I think the main thing minority leaders can do is like mentor and give us direction.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that they can bring us to the table, bring us in the conversation. Don't wait till it's happening and things are, I thought I told you that. No.
Yeah.
Because you're not there for yourself. You're there for all of us, for the city. Wherever you have an opportunity to plug in a young brother or a young sister that has an organization, and you know that they are the caliber of people that's right for that job, fight for them. Mm-hmm. Just don't, and this is a big thing for me, because now that I'm where I am and I'm sitting, I'm hearing some things, and I'm like, wow, really? So-and-so was over there for years. He's never said anything to me about that. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, I feel like when it comes, this is time now. So you have progression that's happening. So I understand what you said about, you know, watching where a person goes get their haircut, but you know what, that was time past.
Yeah.
That was time past. Now the young people are moving. You better catch up. Because you know what, they're like, well, don't throw me a ball, I'll make my own.
Yeah, I'm gonna make mine.
You know what I'm saying? And so we're sitting up here talking rhetoric, you know, not this town, but you know what I'm saying? We're talking rhetoric when the young people, they're already gone. And the thing about it is, they're smart, they're wise, but they need support because we've been where they're trying to get to. And the thing about it is, for me, is when you're in those positions, take notes. Go about thinking about the young people that you just saw on this panel. How can we help them young people? Because it defeats the purpose if you're sitting there. If you're just being a poster child.
What are some of the struggles? Oh, go ahead, Zach.
Mr. West, I don't know if I ever told you this, but Lyle had put on a panel probably 3 or 4 years ago, and I couldn't be on it because I had a prior commitment, but I showed up late. And I remember leaving, and you and a bunch of guys were sitting outside, big mamas, and me and you started talking, and you asked me what I did, and I told you where I worked, and you said, what, you got a black director? And you said, why don't I know you? And I'm thinking, oh, I ain't never even seen, you know, where I'm from, we call you an OG, like I ain't OG, you never even approached me, so, but I remember you saying, man, you need to get out here, and then I signed up for the diversity conference. But that meant a lot to me, for somebody to see me not as a football player, somebody that can do something in the community. And I don't know, you were sitting out there and you said, let me get a card. And I went to my car, pulled back up, and gave you a card. But like that really did something to me because I was like, okay, like.
Right.
You believe in me.
Yeah,
Like,
and let me give you my perspective about that. The thing about Springfield, Missouri, and everybody says, what's the relationship town? It's a place where you'd have to develop relationships.
Right.
That's true. But I talk to, you know, higher education is a whole different culture to itself. And so from my perspective, being at Missouri State, it's like, I know people of color are coming here, young people are coming here, and you have to make sure they are connected. And so one of the things, the key things that I do is work with young people is to make sure they're connected. Just like April Myers at the university and other students, like, understand, they have to be connected to the campus, but they also have to be connected to the larger community. You know, and so that's what we try to do with the Multicultural Business Association. That's what the NAACP was trying to do when we established the gathering some years ago, is to ensure that we are connecting professionals, young people, anybody moving into this community to what's going on in Springfield. The other side of that coin is you have to have a plan. You know, I heard somebody, I believe it was A. Brown, say years ago, it's not the rep, it's the map. It's not the man or the woman, it's the plan. And so within your organizations, you have to develop a plan. What are you talking about when you're addressing diversity, equity, and inclusions in your organizations? Are you talking about access to success and equity, ensuring that black people are being hired and getting those opportunities, those positions? Are you talking about our organizational climate? You got a climate where there's a lack of cultural consciousness, and so white folks are running around saying things that are racially insensitive, or gender insensitive, or being offensive, or about being biased and demonstrating that. Are you talking about learning development so that your workforce is more culturally conscious? Or are you talking about your organization's commitment to valuing the inclusion of diversity? And third, the fifth area really is global perspectives. We live in a global society. We live in a global economy. So it's unconscionable for us not to value people who are from foreign lands and understand their culture. You know, so all the strife that you see that's occurring nationwide particularly, but worldwide, is because there's a lack of cultural consciousness. But that connectivity is going to be critically important to all of us, Yeah, I'm an OG, you look at all this gray hair, you know, but I started right here in this park. And when I told you about those mentors, it was a black preacher and a black professor at SMS. And I was a student activist, I was a community activist, I've been a public servant, but my entire life has been devoted to creating that connection and that access and that empowerment. And that's why, Justin may say, well, follow me around. You might not want to go some places I go.
Yeah.
Because sometimes those folks don't even want to see me coming. And it goes down to one other thing. All of you have to hold your organizations, your institutions, your communities accountable.
That's right.
Accountable. Most of you, some of you got children that are going to be in this public school system. The first time in history, you got a black superintendent. She needs to be supported. Yes. Now, the other side of that coin is, in a predominantly white environment like this, and I'm keeping it real with y'all, whether you want to accept it or not, you got sometimes political leaders and governmental leaders who are like, oh, I support diversity, equity, inclusion. But when that superintendent is under attack and the attorney general is suing her, suing the school district, where are the leaders talking about, no, we don't teach critical race theory? How do you teach critical race theory, which is a law school graduate level course, to kids K through 12? That's a lie in and of itself. But that lie has been created by those who want to maintain power. The other thing, voter suppression. And I'm going to get off my soapbox in a minute. But what is going on in this nation when it comes to voter suppression? Think about it. You had the Emancipation Proclamation. When that was signed, they started limiting access to the ballot. You had Reconstruction. And when that was done, they started limiting access to the ballot, but then there was lynching and wholesale violence against people who were black. And now when you have an election where they turn out someone who shouldn't have been in office to begin with, when they turn him out, they're going to change the laws and change the rules in every state. Now, I don't care if they change the laws in every state, because guess what I'm going to be on election day? And you don't have to bring me some water, you don't have to bring me refreshments. If I got to stand in line to vote, I will vote, because folks that look like us died in sacrifice, were beaten to death, were murdered, and so I'll never forget that. But you have to hold these folks accountable so they support you, they support this community, and most of all, they support our children and the beautiful ones not yet born. What this young man said about his children, his boys, I've got 3 grown sons. 2 of them have children. I'm not their biological father. But they are better fathers today because their fathers weren't fathers to them. I'm a better man today because the woman who raised me and taught me everything I knew how to be a man was my mother. Was not my father. That's unfortunate. But the reality is, he decided he's going to be a better father. He's decided he's going to be a better corporate executive. He's decided he's going to serve his community and serve the disabled, and he's decided he's going to make a difference. That to me inspires me. And yeah, I'm an OG, I'll be stepping off pretty soon, but you inspire me by what you do, by what you're trying to do, and what you will do, in holding these institutions, these organizations, and these so-called leaders accountable.
On the topic of organizations, like how, because a lot of organizations, they'll say, for them, okay, they'll say, well, we got other big priorities outside of diversity, equity, and inclusion to talk about. So how do we motivate them to prioritize diversity, equity, and inclusion in their organizations?
I think you have to speak up, and speaking as a director level leader in an organization, I know how hard it can be to put yourself in that vulnerable position, to be the one that says, hey, there's something not right here. Our board is not diverse, or our staff is not diverse. You are putting yourself out there to say this, and maybe you're going through struggles within your organization too. And I know it's difficult, but I think if we want change, we have to be willing to speak up, and we have to be willing. The accountability comes from not just speaking up, but you have to hold their feet to the fire and say, I appreciate that I'm here, but this is what I need to be supported, and we need more of us.
Right.
And
that's hard, right? Because, and I just want to bring up this topic of microaggressions. Because whenever you, as, some individuals on that first panel was talking about the token individual, like you have to be the one to speak up or represent the entire diverse people that some of them don't even look like you or have the issues that you have, but you represent them for the individuals that want you to fill in a space that's needed. And whenever you speak up, you know, the microaggressions come up, and then those ideals of you speaking up, speaking out, start coming out of them. How do you handle that, Ms. Christine?
Well, I think first you have to understand that that platform is the only platform you get.
Absolutely.
So when you have that, you need to school yourself. You need to be prepared, and you need to know your legacy and your history. Because in spite of, again, I go back to the forefathers, in spite of unjust laws, they made it happen. They were smarter than the average Joe, because what did they do? They studied. They understood what it took to raise a family. Just like this young man, him coming home and kissing his sons first. He knows what they're going to have to go through. He's mounting them up, and he's making mental choices up here. So when you come to that platform to be able to speak, it has to begin with you. They have got to see that reflection of diversity and equity in you. And you're not supposed to get moved at everything someone says. You know, so what? They called you an N-word. So what? They look sideways. So what? You have a bigger purpose. And the thing about it is you let us all down when you lose it. What you need to do is you need to go back and study every question, everything they brought up to you, and start to school them.
I want to say something. I want to jump back to, you know, the microaggressions. I found myself, and even in myself, I'm growing and always improving and speaking up. When my supervisor, my coworker says, how are you doing? And not just saying I'm fine, and saying, hey, I'm not fine. Just the other day, I was asked about something with my supervisor, and I won't go into detail, but I said to my supervisor, I said, if I'd have done what this person did, I would be fired.
Absolutely.
And that a year ago, I would never have said something like that. But I think, you know, the reality is every day being someone who is from a historically underrepresented group, whether you're Black, whether you're Latinx, whether you are of the LGBTQ plus community, every day sometimes going into these predominantly white, cis, hetero spaces, it's like going to battle almost. You are constantly being, maybe not
measured up.
Yeah, you're constantly being judged, you're constantly being watched. There are people that it's really not a conscious thing that they're picking at you, but these microaggressions, it's like getting nibbled to death by ducks. It's like over and over and over again, and you have to deal with this, and you have to not react, not always respond, but always then go above and beyond in what you do, and not let your work or your productivity slip, and not let your interpersonal interactions reflect that you're being affected. It's impossible to do. And I think the conversation that came up in the earlier panel about mental health, it's a real conversation that we need to have. I'm happy that there are folks out there that are starting these conversations, and that's more in the forefront, because, you know, it's a struggle. And I'm sure we all have stories.
Right? Because you guys are like more part of the corporate world. And so sometimes they look at you and say, oh, well, you made it, right? You're here. But do they think about that you are still going through and struggling with the things that the people on the outside that haven't made it are going through? Like, you're still going through that. Am I right?
Yes. I wanted to talk just to stay on that vein. I was asked to do some training with a organizational here, and I reached out to somebody for some help. And this person didn't want to help me because she said they wanted to do some diversity, equity, and inclusion training with their staff. And so the person I reached out to, she was like, well, I'm not going to help you because all they're doing is putting a Band-Aid on the real issue. And I told them, I said, that's okay, because at least we're getting in there and starting the conversation, getting it started. And yes, it's a Band-Aid, but hopefully we can grow and move forward and get
towards
to
the
take
goal.
the Band-Aid off and let it start healing. And so I wasn't going to be deterred not to move forward with the training that this company needed as we address racism and discrimination and conscious and unconscious biases. And so that is what's happening in corporate America these days. We are uncovering those uncomfortable conversations of racism, discrimination, conscious and unconscious biases. A lot of people don't even realize they have those biases. And so being able to talk about it, yes, there are uncomfortable conversations, but it's all in how you approach those conversations as well too. Not having those conversations as accusatory or being mean-spirited, but as a way of trying to educate the person that may not understand on the other side. Yes, this is what's going on. This is what you need to be aware of. Everyone has those biases. Everyone has those conscious and unconscious, and it's a racism and discrimination, but being able to be honest with yourself so that we can continue to move this country forward, and especially this city forward, because this city has changed in so much in the 18 years I've been here, and it's evolving and changing even more. We haven't even seen what's happening with justice, and we've had 10,000 black folks move in this area. I mean, that is amazing. And so we as leaders, as young people, we've got to be able to address those biases, those discriminations, those racism, in order to continue to uplift our city, but in a way that's going to benefit everyone.
And
Go ahead.
let me say this. I believe in giving everybody an A. Okay, right off the bat. Everybody gets an A. And I believe that when you are working with people, and it's my heart to be an encourager. When you're working with people and you're seeing some of the things, that are maybe shortcomings and this type of thing, I'm automatically in my mind like, you know what, I need to pray for this, I need to pray for that. I have a spirituality that helps me to navigate. But then the thing about it is that when you start building a relationship, because a person knows when they have an A with you, okay? They know. So then you start building a relationship of trust where they'll talk to you about certain things, and ask you questions. And they could be a racist person, they could be a biased person, but because they've never gotten an A before from a person that looked like you. Never. So then you're just gradually building this relationship, and you say, you know what, I think that suit is awesome, but wear a blue tie. This is an analogy. Because, it's more powerful, when you come out with a white shirt with a blue tie. And they're like, hey, you were right. You're chipping away. You're chipping away of the stereotypes that they thought you were. And it's not, you're just being you. I'm not saying don't go outside of yourself, but you're being you. But remember that. Give everybody an A. Because I believe that is what separates you really from wanting to do the work well.
It's harder when you got kids. Like me as a director, I'll sit up because it's almost funny. My granny did quit me because she told me every day, like, you're gonna do something special. You're gonna be special. But when the little 6-year-old boy told my son he don't like black people, I pull up to the school, the principal, she say, we're learning. And I say, well, not at my son's expense.
Thank you.
I get it from like you can call me the N-word. I'm gonna be like, dang, bro, I appreciate you.
Say your mama.
When it comes to my kids, and I tell them we gotta be twice as good, and I think that even that's unfortunate. But I want my boys to understand, like, you don't have the, there's no margin for error as far as how you react. And my wife, being a white lady, she didn't see that until she had them. We out in Nixa and all the white boys playing at the construction site, and she said, hold up, boys, y'all can't go over there because they come outside. It's gonna be different for y'all. And I'm like, thank you for finally getting it. But when that little boy said that to my son, and the principal, what she said to me was, Mr. Troutman, we're all learning. And everything my granny taught me went out the window because I'm looking at my son, and this ever gonna shape how because school is important. School is an outlet for me.
Right.
And I think that that's what is exhausting.
Go ahead.
The idea that I'm trying to get across is that we need to prepare ourselves because we have the next generation that's waiting on us, that's needing us, just like you were talking about with your son. Because the idea for me, what's uncomfortable is that we put our kids on the front line every single day. While you talking this and you talking that in your corporate world and wherever you are, we have kids every single day. And today, in the atmosphere of information, and they can get on social media, all of this, it's always the heart of the child. They don't know, because someone said to me, oh, they don't see color. I said, they feel it. They feel it.
Yeah.
They feel it.
Through
They don't know
experiences.
how, right, you kindergarten, right?
Right.
You don't know how to express what I'm feeling, but you know I'm hurt. I'm
Yeah.
hurt. You go to daddy, you go to mommy, I don't like my skin color, I don't like my hair. Something has told you that you wasn't right. And so the idea for me is that I want to stop all that madness, and I want it to start with us in spaces that we can have conversation and make things happen. The educational system that we have, we can be a part of that. We have to be able to embrace teachers, real teachers, heartfelt teachers. It's not about the color of the skin for me. It's about the person that's meant to be in that position, to be a teacher. We need to embrace them and help support them. Through Timmons Hall, that is exactly what we're doing. We just had Akbar Cook here, and he was our speaker, our keynote speaker for the Freedom Class 101 workshop series. And the things that he said when he stood at that podium, and by the way, you can go to City View to see that entire footage. We had 1,100 views, and we also had him to express, it was his grandmother that took him through. His book was dedicated to his grandmother. But the idea that he said, I couldn't wait on change. I had to be the change. Okay, so I'm just tired of the conversations that we're more powerful than that. And I am more powerful than the things I've been through. There's more to me.
Yeah.
There's more to every one of us. So I want to talk about those things. I want to talk about how you rock your organization so I can come in there and help. Not to reinvent the wheel, but to make it bigger. And then when we get these grants and we have these opportunities, write each other in. We got the Diversity and Inclusion Grant, which was $25,000 for Timmons Hall. I utilize good, solid people that are doing the work. And they are diverse. They don't look like me. Even our caterer, the caterer that I got, I'm going to give a shout out. It's Ozark Premier Catering. You got an Asian guy. You have a beautiful African-American or Caribbean, Angelo. And then there's a white gentleman there. But they all have specific duties that they're over. Like one does fish very well, one does this very well. They are on fire. They're on fire. So I wrote them in there. So when you come across people like this, and you know they're good, when you say, damn, who made that chicken salad? You know what I'm saying? The idea to write folks in, you know they're doing the right thing. There's no reason why that inclusion grant should not have action. It needs to have action, not a committee. Yeah. Well, I got this money and so we have a committee. No, an action plan. So the idea for me is just that to know that I'm with us all. I want community to rise above. I want our city to be known for rising above, in spite of. And the whole idea that we're here together, this is what Timmons Hall was meant to be. Is a space that you could come together and you could talk it out and you can understand each other and then start supporting each other. Don't leave here without supporting each other. Don't leave here without supporting each other. And I'll say it one more time. Don't leave here without supporting each other.
That network.
I appreciate your work because one thing I use as a retention tool is to bring out of town, out of state speakers to this area to speak to young professionals and things of that nature. So I really appreciate you doing it because I think that's how we keep our people here is we bring big time national speakers here who have that clout, who have that whatever, followers online and all that kind of stuff. If we do more of that kind of stuff, I think that will kind of distinguish us as a community.
Yeah.
And
so I just want to, because we're running out of time here, I just have one question, and this is kind of to help, the corporate world, who's watching in on us, to kind of level up or figure out like where are they and how they really made a difference. Like what activities do some of you guys feel have been implemented that actually are at the expense of those who are supposed to benefit from diversity, equity, and inclusion programs? Anybody have anything that may have been meant to help, but it's really not?
Yeah, I know one thing they just came out with was this getting out of jail early thing I've heard of that's going on, and it's supposed to benefit more black folks getting out early, but it seems like more white men are getting out and taking advantage of it than black men. So.
Anybody
I
else?
just want to maybe address some of the health disparities.
Okay,
Since
go
I
ahead.
am a health and wellness coach. You know, they're building up hospitals on every corner, these clinics on every corner. And we need to make sure that these clinics and hospitals are addressing black folks where they are and addressing the health disparities and not just treating us all as a number of you've got diabetes or you've got this, you got that, but really trying to figure out what is going on and not in your life and your health. And so we need to address the health disparities that affect black folks in our community. And so just don't build up hospitals, but really
because they can build them, but if they're not, if minorities are not actually going in, then what's the difference?
We need more black representation. We need more black doctors. We need more black nurses. We need nurse practitioners, health practitioners to actually work in those hospitals, so that they will understand when they see a black person come in there what this black person may be going through, what may be happening in their families, what their backgrounds are. So I'm advocating for more blacks to become coaches, health professional. I'm a coach. I got certified as a coach, but I could easily go in the hospitals and help the health professionals to be better at treating their patients, not on the Western medicine, but of a more natural approach to medicine. So that's what I'm hoping that happens in our medical field, is that they invite more coaches and people to really help people to get well, and not just dispense medication and order all these tests that are not really doing anything. So we need to address
I can't wait till we can actually talk about that. We're going deeper with that. I'm sorry we didn't get to go into that today, but
that's what
I want to give everybody, just like our first panel, give everybody a small snippet of what you want to go out with. What do you want to tell the audience that's listening here to take away from this conversation, and how you are advocating for diversity, equity, inclusion, and or how, any tips that you have on how they can, make it a priority in the community?
Well, I'm targeting the churches, the African American churches. I want you to step up, because you know what, it's saddening to me that we can do more. We can do more, but outside those four walls. Because outreach is my thing, and that was the thing that separated me from being inside of a church every Sunday, is outreach. And that's what I've been saying that the whole time. And I feel like I'm giving you an A. I'm giving you an A. I'm giving you an A. But let's work together. Let's work together and let's get back on the right track.
Fantastic. Natasha?
I think we talk about we're from these organizations that are corporate type. I'm from a nonprofit, working for a nonprofit, Zach. I think what we've seen over the last couple of years that I want to speak to is we see the rise in appointing a diversity professional, right?
Talk about that.
In my organization. I want to talk about it. In theory, I think I get where it's coming from, but when you have such a culture that you can't even retain black talent, and you're not doing anything about the culture, and then you want to go and hire a person of color and put them in a position and make them responsible for everything, all things diversity.
It's setting them up for failure.
You're setting them up for failure. You're not fully, as an organization, taking responsibility. Is your board diverse? Is your leadership diverse? Are you putting money into the program that you're putting someone in charge of? Are you really truly being intentional and investing in it? And that where the money is, that's where you know where the priorities
where the
are.
priorities
So,
are, right.
I just think, you know.
Are we giving them the tools to
Yeah.
be successful in order so that everybody can benefit and not just the small community that you want to show that, hey, we're doing something, a little bit of something just to get you on our side?
Absolutely.
Justin?
I'll just say again, just force the action. I know maybe, Missouri State doesn't sound like a likely connection for what you do, but just force the action. Take Let's Pray out the coffee, see how you guys can find ways to work together,
Come to our connected events
Yeah.
coming soon.
It's just what he said, we just have to get more connected. We just have to get more connected. Alicia?
I say, start in our families, have those conversations in our families about race and what's history. A lot of our young people don't know about history, so have those conversations about diversity and equity and inclusion in our homes first, so that we're able, as we go out in the community, we can stand proud of who we are, what we stand for, and not feel like we have to shrivel back. And so, but those conversations need to be held in the comfort and privacy and the intimacy in our own homes, so that we can go out and broach those subjects, because things unfortunately are not getting better.
Yeah.
I think Natasha took all of my line. When it comes to diversity, it's about valuing the inclusion of diversity. And diversity is everybody's business. If your executive and your administrators are not promoting, valuing the inclusion and diversity throughout the organization, throughout the community, then that's a problem, and they have to be held accountable. And I think that's what you see. I mean, folks are using diversity and inclusion buzzword.
Yeah.
It's not a buzzword to me. It's our lives that are at stake, and it's our children's lives that are at stake. And we have to create an environment, a living environment, a place where we live, learn, and earn, that values the inclusion of diversity, and not pay lip service to it. Not pay lip service to it at all. And that's going to be the challenge, I think, going forward. But the key is accountability. The other side of the coin is, as parents, as neighbors, as community members, we need to understand how policy is made and how you can address policymakers at whatever level within your organization. If you don't know your policies and procedures that can protect you to address the issues you need, same thing at the school board, same thing at the city council or local government or state government. You've got to understand how policy is made and how you can impact it.
Yes.
That's why whatever gains we've made as a people in this nation has been because, and generally it was young people who took up the charge. There were folks who sustained it, but it was young people. If you look at South Africa, if you look at the civil rights movement, if you look at what's going on now, you see the pushback to Black Lives Matter. That's a real deal, but you still got to hold folks accountable and continue to work, and don't get tired. You maybe get weary, but you don't give up.
Thank you so much. Zach?
I would just say it starts in the home. Like, we gotta love our kids, our young people. We gotta build them up. That's what I see. It's a lot of the terror that's happening coming from kids from broken homes, and I'm not talking parents. I'm just talking about what are we speaking into our children? Our kids don't love themselves enough. And so when they look like us, they're not aspiring to go do something big, to have purpose. My granny, we didn't have much, but that lady built me up. I can still feel her everywhere I go. And that's why I don't be fazed by a lot of stuff, because no matter every hardship that we can, she hold my hand, and every morning she wake up, hallelujah, praying over the house. And just understanding, I think that's why being a father is so important, because the world will break you. They'll break you down. And I didn't know that's what my granny was doing. I didn't know she was preparing me for such a dark and hateful world. But now there's a lot of things I'm like, all right, my granny, she had a saying for that. And I'm like, okay, now that makes sense. And so I just think, just working with a lot of young people, they're under attack, and no matter what you believe, they're distracted right now, and we're expecting them to carry the torch. There's this huge distraction right now. So I would just say it starts at home. Love the people that you're around. And I want my sons to be extensions of me, and I'm an extension of my grandmother, so.
Absolutely. Thank you, Zach. And so, we're about to wrap things up right here, and I just want to thank everyone in the audience, and I just want to give my little piece, leave myself out. I just want you guys to walk away. I'm glad you talked about what you said. Voting is very important in our community, okay? Everyone needs to be voting, and I almost forgot that we have our democracy classes that are coming up. They're on here, democracy class, vote for democracy class. We're going to be having that. The first one's going to be at Big Mama's, and that's going to be it's a 3-day class, and we're going to be talking about the history of voting, busting the myths about voting, how voting doesn't count, or how you don't count as a person when you vote. And then we're going to try and get you to register to vote, tell you who's going to be running for office, what's coming up, because the first thing is knowledge, and if you don't have knowledge, then you obviously don't have what it takes to go out there and want to be a part of that. So look out for that. I will be putting that out with United Community Change. That's something that that's why we started voting and getting people educated about the city hall, and what goes on there locally in our communities that you need to vote on, as well as the national aspect of that. So I just want to say, think about that. But also, think about all the people on this panel that's here giving us their perspectives, and obviously there's so much more to this conversation that we haven't had the time to talk about. But obviously, we're going to continue to do these meetings, once a month, on a different topic that's around, diversity, inclusion. I mean, it goes deep. It's not just it's not a surface conversation. It's not just, oh, diversity, I see you, you see me. It goes into health. It goes into identity. It goes into, family and relationships, and how we can work together as a community. And so I just, I encourage everyone to look at the people that are around you, whether they be in your organization, in your school, in your family, and see how you can connect with them on a personal, human level, and so that you can talk about these issues and see what comes up, and see how you can kind of take the biases that you have away, so that you can clearly see exactly what's going on in front of you. And I thank you guys for your support. Obviously, if you have a grant to give, I need it. So feel free to go ahead and write me in. We have our Juneteenth events. We need sponsors. We have our, programs. We need money. A lot of the stuff is coming out of pocket, but I have a dream, just like everybody else out here, to assist the community and make sure it gets better and fill in those gaps that we need so much. So thank you so much for coming to this conversation, and you guys have peace and blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you.